City. This video shows the moment that Angie Torres was choked by a man in the crowd. You can see his hands around her neck, and New York City Councilwoman Crystal Hudson quickly joining the scuffle. Fox does not know the circumstances surrounding the incident, and it's unclear if the man is a Hochul supporter. Governor Hochul still has not condemned the attack. Torres told our own Eric Shawn that there is no excuse for any politically motivated violence, no matter what side you are on.
I think it's disgraceful what happened. I think, we're supposed to have a middle ground where we can have agreements and have disagreements, but always be respectful. I was treated like a subhuman, like my feelings didn't matter, that, just because I have an opinion that's different than theirs, that they have a right to, enact violence against me. And I feel like it was just completely unnecessary.
Totally unnecessary. Britt, this didn't come in a vacuum. In fact, we see Kari Lake's campaign headquarters receive suspicious mail. It was a white powder. There was an angry Democrat protester who bit a Republican at a rally in Michigan. This is all just over the weekend. And then the FBI investigating that shot at the North Carolina home of a grandmother who was watching the children of a congressional candidate there. My point is, and then of course Paul Pelosi, this is happening, and it's happening on both sides, and it needs to end.
It does need to end, and it didn't used to happen like this, but we are living in tense and very evenly divided times, and people's passions are raging. And result you get now, look, as for this incident here with the Zeldin supporter, we don't know much about the guy who did that. I mean, he might have been just some random guy in a bad mood. We don't know that. And, I'm not sure that Kathy Hochul needs to apologize for that. I don't see how you can tie it to her unless we knew more about it than we know now. Nonetheless, the point is made. You're right, Kayleigh. This is a bad situation. People participating in politics, even if they're protesting and slightly disruptive, should not be attacked. It's as simple as that.
It's very simple. And also, Shannon, I wish the rhetoric would come down. And again, I want to be clear. We've heard elevated rhetoric on the right, on the left. But I must say I was a little stunned when Clyburn came on your show. I gave him the benefit of the doubt on Friday. He's typically a very measured voice, certainly has a lot of respect on both sides of the aisle. So I was a little taken aback to see 3 times you pressing on him on the 1930s German point. And him not really backing down.
Yeah, I thought he might temper it a bit, that he had a couple of days to talk about it, to think about it, to see the backlash for people who say, this isn't the first time that he's used that imagery. I mean, he's invoked that conversation many times, talking about 1930s Germany, the rise of Hitler. And I think for some people, that's just never going to be a comparison you should make to anything that we are experiencing
100%.
now. So I thought that he might say, okay, I was a little heated up. But then I also asked him about another statement that he made where he talked about if you don't vote Democrat, basically it's the end of the world. And he said, no, I didn't say that. And I said, no, we played your soundbite. I will read it back to you. The end of the world. That's what you're telling people. Half of America, if they don't vote for you, they're bringing back the end of the world. And he said, well, okay, maybe I went too far. So he did acknowledge that, some of this language has gotten very hyperbolic and heated up. But, I thought when I heard about this situation with this Hochul, the Zeldin supporter, and again, so much we don't know about that, I thought, why we read these headlines all the time. Then I saw the video and I'm like, that's potentially criminal behavior. Who knows what the guy's motivation was?
When somebody puts their hands around your neck, I don't think there's potential.
No,
I
goes
think
too
it's
far.
criminal behavior.
It goes too far.
Yeah.
It goes too far. And, Harris, I just wish we could get back to the time I remember after President Obama was elected. I was on Oxford's campus and just had the most robust, pleasant debates with peers who looked at me as an experiment. But nevertheless, my point is you could have that back and forth, and it was civil.
Yeah, I mean, I love the way you put it. Having good debate used to not be an experiment. It used to be a way of life here in America. I mean, that's what free speech is all about. Being able to say your part, you say your part, we get together and we go back and forth and we end in a civil nature. But right now, everything is about the end. It's so existential. I mean, even Clyburn has caught this infectious disease of existentialism, that the fakeness of it all. I mean, literally, how can you bring the end of democracy when you're doing the most democratic thing that we do? You're voting. I don't really get that. That was your whole point. I mean, this is democracy. What we're doing right now, those 40 million people who early voted, that is democracy. That is working. That's not voter suppression. Stacey Abrams down in Georgia wants to, beat that drum. It's working. It's just not working the way they want it to.
And the attacks are bizarre. So the woman in Michigan who was bitten was a Wayne County GOP chairwoman. And her quote was, "I've never been bit by an adult in my life or anyone over 5.
So, apt. And probably most of us have that same shared experience that it sort of ended on the playground. The issue, to me, respectfully, is it's not the apology that the governor should undertake. It's the condemnation. How hard is it?
Exactly.
Just like you just said, Katie, how hard is it to say, end political violence, tamp down this rhetoric. It is unacceptable on both sides. That takes 2 seconds. And that's why Lee Zeldin is leagues ahead of her in terms of, again, that empathy, that listening to voters, of just the common sense. How difficult is it to say, sure, we will learn more about the situation, but I unequivocally condemn any type of violence in my name or next to it. And by the way, that was a female of color who was choked out by a seemingly Caucasian male. Where's the outrage? The knee-jerk outrage on the left.
Come on.
Because you know
if
if the political identification had been reversed, it would be front page news for everyone on the left. But unfortunately, there's crickets because her life apparently matters less.
Yeah, great point,
Sad.
Emily, always.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayla.